Armchair experts, this is your opportunity to show the whole world your internet expertise. How can Emily's fit be improved? Comment below. Continue to the end of the video to see if you were correct. This is my friend Emily. She is an amazing individual, bikepacker, mountaineer, photographer, and all-around athlete. Emily rides more than 5,000 miles per year. Today, she's getting a bike fit. As a custom bike builder and designer, I know the biggest advantage of a bespoke bike is a tailored fit. Fit is so critical. It affects your comfort, performance, handling, and the bike's aesthetics. I'm surprised how many people don't want to get a bike fit, or even worse, have gotten a fit and have had a negative experience. Let's get a bike fit. We're here at Clubhouse Velo in San Francisco, and this is Alan, owner of Clubhouse Velo. What is it?
Clubhouse Velo is a bike fit studio, and we specialize in all types of bike fits with a background in physical therapy.
And we're here with my friend Emily, who is an adventure photographer. And why are we here?
For a bike fit for my gravel bike.
Cool, let's do it. Alan uses this special fit bike. You can rapidly adjust the bike while the rider is pedaling. This allows you to make quick A/B comparisons of different positions. Also, instead of being a bike-shaped object, the fit bike spits out X, Y Cartesian coordinates for your saddle and bar position. This allows you to fit someone from scratch without the bias of an existing frame geometry and stem length. Also, you can adjust crank length, which ended up being a bigger impact than I realized. Before we jump into Emily's fit, we wanted to give you, the loyal subscriber, some tips to improve your drop bar fit. Alan's going to show us what the top 3 mistakes he finds for bike fits.
Number 1, saddle too high.
How do you tell?
Knees are overextending. There's choppiness to the pedaling motion. You can see toes pointing typically. Also, there can be significant rocking on the saddle side to side.
And how do you know when the saddle height is correct?
When the pedal stroke sounds and looks smoother, the foot through the whole pedal stroke is more controlled. There's not any excess paddling motion there. There's not a perfect saddle height. Some people are pickier than others, but most people can fit a range. Number 2, bars too wide. If you're turning your wrists inwards, that's too wide. If you are a woman, you probably have bars that are too wide.
How much of bar width is personal preference versus too wide?
I think everyone can generally fit 1 or 2 sizes, like a 2 centimeter range, comfortably or optimal. If you're going wider, like the trend with super wide gravel bars, as long as the stem and the reach overall is adjusted for, then that can be accounted for.
The last one, hood angle and bar roll. What are some telltale signs that your hoods are rolled too high?
Rolled too high, your wrist starts to form a crease here on the thumb side of your wrist, going up like that. You may find numbness on this half of your hands. It's going to potentially increase the load through your upper extremity and your upper back.
Hood too low.
Too low, your wrists are going to go the other way, pointing downwards. It's going to extend the reach further, so it's going to make the bike feel harder to handle.
Locked elbows, that's what I see the most.
And locked elbows, yeah.
Right. Incorrect hood angle and bar roll is the biggest bike fit mistake I see. It is such a critical interface of your body to bike. It's also frustrating that so many bikes come incorrectly assembled from bike shops. Emily's hoods had slipped during a bikepacking trip in Montana. Correcting her hood angle and bar roll made the biggest difference in her comfort. Who do you think bike fits are for? What type of people?
I think bike fits are for everyone. Doesn't have to be a road bike, it can be a hybrid, e-bike, gravel bike, commuter bike, whatever.
If you thought those tips were helpful, please remember to subscribe. And now, the bike fit. Alan starts every fit with a quick interview and physical assessment.
Do you get any numbness anywhere else? Feet, saddle region?
Eventually, I think on longer rides, my feet would probably swell a little bit and then get numb. Specifically, my left big toe.
Okay, so we're gonna start with our physical assessment. We're gonna do both arms, reach up to the ceiling as high as you can. All right, next I'm gonna have you lock out your elbows like this. I'm just looking at how much bend there is there. Totally normal range. Okay, just from standing here, I can see a little bit of curvature or shifts in your spine. Your neck and your head kind of sit left of center. And yeah, so it's kind of like that.
How does that make you feel?
It feels validating because I know I have an imbalance.
And tell me if I reach your limit. A little tighter on this one, but it's really good. Blocked a little bit earlier and firmer. I'm gonna go back to the other side. Yeah, this one's a lot easier.
Yeah, it actually feels less tight. That's so interesting.
Yeah. And your right side's presenting like two or three mils longer here, but that can be a whole number of things. I'd say also maybe like a good 3-4 mils here. Here we've isolated the lower leg in terms of leg length. It's clearly taller on her left leg than the right leg here. You're gonna stand both feet on there at the same time. Okay, so we got a solid, this is just a hair over 38, and then, oh, this one's longer, 39 and a half. It's about a full size.
Earlier, Emily mentioned that her left foot would hurt on rides.
Specifically my left big toe.
Well, we found the reason. Her left foot is a full size bigger than her right. In situations like these, Alan recommends getting different size shoes for the left and right foot. Unfortunately, that may mean buying 2 different pairs of shoes. What are your quick thoughts on it?
Her head sits left of center. Legs are slightly different lengths, especially her lower right leg is shorter. Spine has a little bit of curvature and rotation. Her right foot is significantly shorter by about 8 mils.
Is it common for you to see these sort of asymmetries in people?
To some extent, it's more common for me to see asymmetries than it is to find a very symmetric person.
On the spectrum of what you usually see, how far off asymmetric?
She's on the further end
Oh, wow.
of asymmetric.
Sorry, Emily.
I'm unique. I think I learned a lot about my body.
What was the most surprising thing? Let's go through
All of it. I think the most surprising thing actually was that my entire head is leaning slightly to the left. I don't even know if you can tell on the camera, but I have never looked at a mirror and noticed it.
For me, it was the different size of your feet.
Oh, to see, because yeah, that's something I've just known all my life, because my left shoe always feels tighter.
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of like know something, like one foot hurts more than the other.
Yeah.
But then when you actually like measure it, you're like, oh, that's
right.
Quite a big difference.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get roasted for this. Wow. When I clipped in, a ton of dust came out of my shoes.
We're gonna first test saddle height, kind of finding her limit, going through an A/B process, whether it feels better lower or higher, until a certain point where either she subjectively tells me this is no longer good, or I decide it doesn't look good anymore. Does it feel better down here or better up here? Okay, this is up, and if there's no difference, we'll just keep going. Up here or down. Things to think about is your pressure on the hands, how your back feels, how your shoulder lats feel if they start to feel too stretched out.
But I always do feel like maybe I'm like putting more pressure on the hands than I need to be.
Okay. We want it light enough to where you feel like you can grab some bottles on either side comfortably without feeling like you're gonna collapse. Okay, in the drops, does it feel better back here or forward here? This is forward and this is back.
This was the section I was most interested in, crank length. Alan's Fit Bike allows for quick crank length adjustments. As a 6-foot-tall dude, I don't have an educated opinion on shorter cranks. I was surprised how short Emily wanted to go.
So right now we're riding with 160 mil cranks, so 5 mil shorter than the previous.
That feels better.
And 155 cranks, so even shorter. I've already corrected for the saddle height and the handlebar height. Do you feel a difference?
Yeah, I'm like, huh, I might like it better.
Does it feel like a clown bike yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, that's good. That's good. There is a point where it does.
Yeah, I'm sure. I can imagine.
Crank length, how does that feel?
Yeah, it feels good, I think. I noticed I felt it in my right leg hip area, a bit of tightness on longer cranks.
It feels like it's blocked a little bit earlier and firmer.
And I started off with 165s on my current bike, and it feels like there's just less tightness and strain.
This is not the best comparison because the 155 cranks had a lower bar position. But even so, you could see that the shorter cranks allowed Emily to maintain roughly the same hip angle with the more aggressive position. Approximately 7 degrees more open compared to the 165mm cranks. I'm always grateful to learn from other athletes and experts. We had an in-depth discussion on crank length, which I moved to the end of this video.
Next up, I'm gonna take full measurements of the Fit Bike and then put the saddle back on her old bike and see how she looks on there.
Yeah, the like where the hoods are, like and everything compared to before, this feels better.
Yeah.
It feels less stretched.
You're like this because your
okay.
levers were like
Yeah.
rolled forward and down.
Yeah.
Now we have your hoods a little bit more neutral and
Yeah.
up here.
Yeah.
And so now the ulnar nerve is happier here, which runs through this side.
Just finished swapping your bike to your new fit.
I think I definitely noticed the correction of the handlebar hood positioning. It feels more comfortable. I think before my wrists were rolled down, and I think as a result I was also putting more pressure on my hands and arms, and I almost feel a bit lighter. Yeah, and last year when I had a larger frame, I was really reaching, and
And that's it. I'm surprised how well Emily can tolerate bad fits and adapt to new ones. But if you think about it, that is what separates athletes like her from the rest of us. Their bodies and minds are very robust.
Right.
Coming.
do we want to?
What do you want?
Okay. Do you want to center this?
Yeah, we're doing YouTube here. We're not your level of like. Yeah, this is going straight to YouTube, uncut. Just
All the takes.
yeah, I'm just uploading all the takes just in separate video files, not even changing the name. You have a big trip coming up in a week and a half.
Yep.
All right. Usually, I don't recommend people make big bike changes before, but it seems like everything went to a better direction. What is this bike trip?
I am going to go to China, and we are going to ride an experimental trip for a week around the Yangshuo area, where there's these beautiful karst mountains and beautiful scenery. And 10 years ago, there was a lot of dirt to ride. And we don't know if that's still there, but we'll find out.
How can they keep track of that?
I guess they can follow me on Instagram, even though I never post. I'm
Great.
kidding.
Follow her on Instagram, even though she never posts. And Alan, how do we? Google.
Google, follow us on Instagram, Clubhouse Velo.
And how people want, they can make an appointment.
Just go on our website, www.clubhousevelo.com.
And what's your current waitlist lead time?
We're booking about 3 weeks out right now.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. It was a fun day. And yeah, I'm excited to see how the bike fit turns out. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
I'll report back.
She started on 165s because that's what's currently on her bike, and we tested down every 5 mils down to 150, where it started to feel a little bit less smooth, and settled on 155s being the optimal crank length. And we found a position that wasn't too short or too conservative, but just felt light on the hands and the back and the shoulders and everything.
Cool. And you already have what industry considers short cranks, 165 on your bike. But you went to 155 and 150. Did you have any thoughts or feelings about the shorter cranks?
I was surprised to feel how natural the shorter cranks felt, and it helped reduce the tension I felt between my leg and hip, and I guess like the flexibility that I was feeling.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to see that it was almost noticeable. Like you immediately felt the relief, and usually like bike fit changes kind of take time to settle in, but that was a pretty big change, but it felt natural.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think especially in the drops, I felt like it was more comfortable to pedal.
And that correlates with what we found on the off the bike assessment on the table. When I brought that knee up towards your chest, that right side stopped a lot sooner and was a lot firmer there.
And it seems like short cranks are trendy now. Whether trend or not, it does seem to help quite a few people. Is there a correlation between the leg length and the crank length? Or is it just, it depends on the type of person?
At some level there is. I think it also just depends on the mobility of other parts of the body.
Yeah.
And also, it may seem trendy, but it's also because things are just more available these days.
I mean, it definitely makes sense from proportionally that you would shrink down the crank length. It always surprises to me why they even make a 172.5 instead of like a 160, 155. But I'm glad it seems like it's getting less biased towards the bigger sizes.
Yeah.
Um,
I think if Shimano and SRAM made 155, that would put a lot of the smaller crank brands out of business.
Nice. Well, they're not going to do that because they're too old and stubborn. Are you finding a lot of your customers are going shorter cranks, like shorter than 165?
Shorter than 165, not too common. Maybe someone like 5'3", 5'4" below, then for certain we were wanting to push below 165.
Right. So I guess your suggestion is if someone's around 5'5", 5'6" and below, it might be something worth trying.
Definitely.